and I'll just hand over to David and Cameron now.
Thanks, Gary. Afternoon, everybody. My name's David Hogg. I head up sales for Scotland and Northern Ireland for Content Guru. I'm based in our Glasgow office. Cam, do you want to give yourself a quick intro, please, mate?
Yeah, hi guys. I'm based down in Bracknell at the Content Guru HQ, but I've been working quite closely with David up in Scotland and other housing associations as well in the UK. So excited to show you the product today.
So the format of how we're going to do this is that hopefully you will be seeing some slides just now. So we're going to run through just a handful of slides to set the scene. For those who were on the webinar a few weeks ago, a couple of these will be familiar. But the point of this is I'm going to assume that a lot of people here, if they weren't on that webinar, don't know who we are. So I'll explain who we are, where we fit in the marketplace and so on. As I say, a couple of slides, and then I'm going to hand over to Cam, and then we're going to give you a live demonstration of the platform, which is always dangerous. But we're confident in our technology, fingers crossed. So let me explain who we are. So who are Content Guru? So we are the largest vendor supplier of CCaaS, contact centre as a service in the UK. We are the vendor ourselves, so it's our own product. What is CCaaS? Basically what we're talking about is a contact centre solution which is based in the cloud. Simple as that. You may be familiar with Gartner and furthermore than that, the Gartner Magic Quadrant. It's kind of like the barometer of our solutions, and they review us on a regular basis. So we're the only UK and European vendor who's part of that. We're a privately owned company, still owned by two founders, two brothers who were originally from East Kilbride, as it happens. Our availability on our solution, that is what differentiates us. And I'll come on in a wee second to give an example of some of the clients we deal with. You guys will no doubt at some point have used our solution to speak to our vendor, speak to our supplier. And one of the main elements and the reasons why we're choosing is that availability. Cam and I could come on here and demonstrate everything for 24 hours and show you it's amazing. But if it doesn't work, what's the point? I think another point as well, which is entirely relevant to the audience here today, is that there's a mix in terms of the size of organizations. But this is cloud-based, so it's completely scalable. So if somebody on the call said, listen, I really know what you're talking about, but we only need it for a couple of staff, that's fine. If somebody said we need it for 20 staff, it's fine. We have clients who have 10,000 users of our system, but it's all scalable because it's all cloud-based. So, some of the brand names I'll talk about, you probably go, the reaction would be, well, they're considerably bigger than us. That's fine. It's cloud-based. Doesn't make a difference. We have a large Scottish office. I'll share with you a few of our Scottish clients, which is obviously where we are all based shortly. But because of that, we have a large office in Glasgow. But we are also a global organisation. So we have offices throughout America, Japan, Europe. We have, for example, in Japan, we have 60,000 users of our platform in Japan. So we are a truly global organisation. And our solution is that reliable that it's supported and used by organisations such as DWP and the NHS, which we'll come on to in a second. But why are we here? Why do we exist? The point of today is to talk about improving tenant communications and improving and transforming how you guys can communicate with your tenants. And where is that coming from, though? It's now the norm that people expect to be able to talk to organisations in lots of different ways. Gone are the days where I remember maybe 10, 15 years ago, voice is imperative. Voice is the only way that customers can speak to organisations. Customers don't expect that. Tenants don't expect that anymore. They're expecting to be able to message. They're expecting to be able to email and get a reliable feedback response within a normal timescale, not waiting a week to get a response to an email. That has become the norm in today's society. That is where we fit in. That is what we can provide. So in terms of our solution, we have what's called a single stack solution. And all that means is we provide everything ourselves. So yes, we integrate into other applications. For example, you yourselves, a number of you may well have a CRM application from a housing vendor, like Granicus or so on, Lagan, for example. So we would integrate into all these sorts of applications, but we also have everything in-house. And again, that's a big differentiator for us. I'm not going to go into each of these because we're going to cover this off in the demonstration. But at high level, you know, what do? We have Gary mentioned AI and all that sort of good stuff, and we're going to demonstrate a piece of that. We provide the full omni-channel stack. And what do we mean by that? We mean we'll allow our customers to use WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, X, as it now is, even Instagram, to allow your tenants to speak to you. We're a PCI level 1 compliance solution. So in terms of taking payments for rent and so on, not a problem, fully secure, fully approved. And we also do other things like knowledge management. And what's that about? That is all about allowing your staff to have articles pop in front of them relevant to the call that's coming in. And we'll talk about that shortly. Very quick one in terms of where we fit in the marketplace. We're really proud of this, but I'll quickly explain what this is. So Gartner, who I mentioned earlier, they have a thing. It's a bit like, it's a good example. It's a bit like TripAdvisor, I suppose, where customers can go on and basically review their vendor. So this is done every 3 months. I'm not going to go into detail. You'll be familiar with some of these brands on there, no doubt. The reason we show it is because we're really proud of it, because this is customers. This isn't even consultants, technical people reviewing this. This is our actual customers. So who are some of our customers? As you can see, you know, we have a wide range of well-known high street brands. For example, in England, within the NHS, we are their only approved vendor to supply this type of solution. Our friends at Ryanair, have been a regular user of Ryanair, so a good and bad experience with them, but we provide the chat with them. We've got a range of organisations there. But we're based in Scotland, so what's relevant to Scotland? So if you remember, at the start, I did say, obviously, a lot of our customers will no doubt, the feedback may be, well, they're considerably bigger than us. But please remember, this is cloud-based, so it's scalable. So Police Scotland, so we're replacing every contact centre across the country for the Police Scotland. First phase of that's actually going live next week. NHS 24, we provide all their live chat services. Social Security Scotland, we provide everything for them, their entire contact centre solution, entire channels that people can contact them by. Tesco Bank, much the same as well. They have over 1,500 users on our platform. You know, why do I mention that? Because if an organisation like that looks as our platform as being reliable, such as the Police Scotland, we're going to carry 999 calls, then, you know, hopefully that's a reassurance for yourselves that, okay, this is a good platform. There's obviously other organisations such as SSE, SEPA. Obviously, our platform is well used and has been recently with the storm and so on last week. Scottish Prison Service, and obviously you'd be familiar with Wheatley Group. So a few months ago, we won the contract to replace Wheatley's platform, which was end of life, and that was for both the contact centre piece and also the normal day-to-day telephony. So we're doing the full stack for them, so to speak. First phase of that went live a few weeks ago, and we're phasing that in over the next couple of weeks, actually, next 3-4 weeks. We're going to be bringing in other phases of that, and that is allowing Wheatley, similar to yourselves, to open up other routes of communication for their tenants to speak to them. So again, I know I keep saying it, different scale. I appreciate that to a lot of yourselves, but it's cloud-based, so you know it's all completely scalable. So that is just the slide deck that I wanted to go through. I just wanted to set the scene, explain who we are, explain where we fit in the marketplace, and high level explain what we do. So now we're coming into the live demonstrations. So I'll quickly hand over to Cam in a second, but I'll just quickly note through what we're actually going to show you. So what we're going to start with is we're going to show the actual desktop. So this is the actual desktop that your users would log into. It's just web-based, so it's just a browser-based solution. And that's where the interactions and so on all come in. We'll then run a live call into the platform. So you'll see how that comes in, you see how that works. There's a wee bit of functionality in there. Again, the point of today is about how we improve communications with tenants. So you'll see that using a bit what's called natural language, identifying the person or listening into actually what the person's saying. We're then going to show how WhatsApp's going to work across the platform. how that would work from an agent or a user perspective, what they would see, and how easy it is to manage that. On the last session we had a few weeks ago, the PCI piece was mentioned a few times, so we're going to show how that works and how easy it is to use. And this, to be clear, I've looked at the attendee list and appreciate, we have a full range of experience and knowledge and roles through the attendees of you guys that are on here. So, we're not going to go into the nuts and bolts of the system. We're not going to go into that. If people want to look at that separately, more than happy to run a separate full technical demo. But this is going to show high level how it looks and feels. But I think even technically you'll be able to get from it, okay, I can see how this would help ourselves and how we would improve that communication. Flow is our tool. This is one of the main reasons, if I'm honest, that a lot of customers come to ourselves. This is a no-code tool which allows users to drag and drop icons and items into a call flow. So what I mean by that is that if, for example, you were getting inundated with calls and you decided you wanted to send everybody an SMS when they phoned you, you could do that yourselves. Right, you could design that and go, right, okay, we're getting inundated with calls. As soon as somebody phones and it's from a mobile, I want them to receive an SMS that says, listen, we're really sorry at the moment. You will be in a queue, but we'll get to you as soon as possible. You would have that control. We give our clients full training on this, but we give you full control of the platform. Reporting as well. Recently had a session with one of the housing associations who I think are represented on this, and one of the first things that they said was I think they had a 3CX system, and reporting didn't get any reporting. Why is reporting important when you're dealing with communication for tenants? Is it's about volume. It's about understanding when are my tenants calling. Normally Monday morning's obviously a busy time, but when else during the week? Being able to see that and then be able to staff accordingly is massive. And the final thing which we're going to demonstrate is an AI and chat GPT demonstration. We'll explain a bit more about it at the time, but this is, a lot of people say internally in my place, I need to get a life, which might be fair enough because I think this is really cool. It's a brand new thing. Nobody's seen this. Gary's not even seen this or this demonstration. We think this has the potential to benefit and be a use of every organisation there is. And I'll explain more about that when we get to it. But it is, as I've said already, is a very cool piece. So as Gary said, if there's any questions, please, fire them into the chat at any point. If there's any questions on what I've just presented, then please let me know. Failing that, we'll hand over to Cam to start the demonstration.
Brilliant. Thanks, David. I'll just take over the screen and then double check if everybody can see what's just come up.
All good, Cam. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you all. Yes, so as David kindly said, if there is any questions, please feel free to pop them in and we'll stop at, I guess, various points throughout under Gary's sort of ideas and try and answer those questions to the best of our ability. But as we mentioned, you're now looking at the Storm solution and it's fully web-based. There's typically 3 different parts of that solution, which consists of the one that you're looking at now, which is the agent interface. This is where your particular agents or customer service advisors are going to be taking calls in from tenants and also receiving omni-channel interaction. So this is a full omni-channel single pane of glass for agents or advisors to answer these types of inquiries. Typically then we have a supervisor interface, which we won't show today. It has a very similar look and feel and allows our supervisors to help monitor agents and help them through particularly difficult inquiries across that omni-channel method of communication. And then lastly, we'll start on those administrator interfaces. So this is where we're building some complex routing decisions. A key one with housing associations that I work with is priority routing, vulnerable customers, difficult customers. How can we get them to the right place at the right time? And then it's also looking at things like reporting and how we leverage that and how we have that scheduled to go to different users and stakeholders within the housing association to make sure they have all of the information that they need about those calls and interactions that are taking place. But just to take you through some key pieces of housekeeping now, you can see I am logged in as Annabelle Carlson at the moment as an agent. And in the top right-hand corner, you can see that I'm available. I have a range of fully customizable and fully reportable available and unavailable states. And these can be reported upon to show agent activity throughout the day. On the left-hand side now, I have a list of icons that I can use, which is just all of the functionality that I have as an agent. Probably the most important one of that is this soft phone here, which we call the web iPath, just allowing inbound and outbound calls. But of course, we can also PSTN pair to mobile devices, or we can connect to phones on the desk via SIP, things like that. Linked within the web iPath, I can access my contacts, I can filter all of those out, I can set favorites, I can see who's available, etc., and transfer those calls. Key thing about this is we have a number of users on the platform that utilize Microsoft Teams, and we integrate with Microsoft Teams as a sort of connect partner with Microsoft. So you would see Teams users here through that integration, we would see the presence, and therefore if you need to transfer that call back to somebody in the back office, you could do that clearly and easily here. And then lastly, we have some history. So this is full omni-channel history. And if we are to look at a particular interaction, maybe just take this voice call, for example, and click on it further, we can see relevant information about that call. We might be able to listen back to recordings as a customer service advisor on that platform. And then if we had an email, for example, we could open that up again, follow it up, etc., etc. Just to go through some last bits of housekeeping, I can also do things like alert my supervisor. There's no supervisor currently available, but maybe I'm dealing with a particularly difficult interaction at the moment. This will send an audible message and a notification to supervisors and say, I need help, and then it will prompt the supervisor to help with that. We can compose emails, we can compose SMS. We have access to things like what we call knowledge management. Now, this is a secure knowledge base of articles and decision trees, which help with particular inquiries. And then lastly, we can do things like view the queues that we're working in. Maybe we're working on some emails and we can cherry pick emails out of queues and things like that. And then we can access our voicemails and we can look at callbacks that may have been scheduled in the past and see who we need to call and make an outbound call to, for example. Unless there's any questions at the moment, it's probably a good time now for me to move in and just put a call through the platform. As David mentioned earlier, we can use natural language processing, which essentially is just capturing the intent of the caller, the tenant, what's the reason for the call, and then routing them to the correct teams accordingly. Now, we're going to show you this through this natural language processing through Google, but we can, of course, just traditionally use keying in code. So press 1 for one department, press 2 for another, for example. Was there any questions, or shall I move on?
No questions just now, Gary.
Brill, fantastic. So I'll just pop a call in. No Oscars for this performance here, but I hope there's a relevant use case. Please just give me a thumbs up, David, if you can hear this okay.
Hello and welcome to the Content Guru Tenant Care Line. So we can direct you, please say your query in a few words.
Hi, I'm experiencing some issues with damp and mold. I was wondering if you could help and I could speak to somebody.
We are sorry to hear that you are experiencing an issue with damp and mold. Would you like to receive a text message with further details of how you can manage damp and mold in your home?
Yes, that'd be great. Thank you.
A text message has been sent to your mobile phone with more details. If you would like to speak to one of our skilled advisors, please stay on the line.
Brilliant. So let me just mute myself there so we don't hear any echo or anything like that. So a few things have happened there straight off the bat. Obviously, we've used my voice just as a way to capture an element of information. It might be that you have a specific number to press to speak with people about damp and mold or paying rent, for example. But in this case, it's notified I want to speak about that issue and it's pushed me to the correct department. We've then had an outbound SMS capability. We could do this via email and SMS, just signposting me as the tenant to other pieces of information or FAQs that you might hold on a website, for example. So the value behind that is, of course, if there's if you want to reduce the pressure on the contact center or on your advisors, then we might be able to push people towards self-service options there. So a text message came through in the background. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see that particularly well, but it's come through here. That's absolutely no chance, apologies. But it's come through here to a specific link that's just an FAQ page on our Content Guru website, for example. Oh, apologies. I've just accidentally hung up the call, which is what I tend to do by accident, pressing the off key. So I will just run you through the process again. My apologies. I've got some issues with damp and mold. I want to speak to somebody, please.
We are sorry to hear that you are experiencing an issue with damp and mold. Would you like to receive a text message with further details of how you can manage damp and mold in your home?
No, thank you. That's fine.
A text message has been sent to your mobile phone with more details. If you would like to speak to one of our skilled advisors, please stay on the line.
Brilliant. So that's coming through now. Right. Remind myself to never accidentally turn off my phone. So the things that I was going to walk through next is that we've captured some key call information about the call automatically before I've even answered the call as a specific advisor. So for example, we've seen based on selecting damp and mold or speaking about damp and mold, I've been pushed down a particular service line, which is configured by yourself. Then we've captured that verbatim feedback in the form of the customer inquiry. So we've got damp and mold, and then we've captured some things, some membership numbers or some addresses, for example, which are linked to something called CCaaS. Now this is CCaaS here in this small screen. This is our own proprietary CRM system that holds information on tenants or users and can be used to route customers to the right place at the right time. You can edit this and you can customize these forms, so you can be very, very sort of unique and customizable with your own platform. Another thing that CCaaS does is it aggregates information. So we mentioned earlier about integrations with different maybe housing management systems or other CRM systems. CCaaS can sort of sit in the middle of that, and it can push and pull relevant information to ensure you're sort of holding the right things on the right customers. Another thing that we can do alongside CCaaS is look at something called a customer journey. So this is on the right hand side. This looks at all of the different touch points that tenant has had with your organization across any different channel. So you can see those dates there. We've had lots of calls, but then we've had a WhatsApp there. We have an email. And if we open up those further, we can delve into that particular interaction, see what was said. So it's very useful for auditing purposes. And also if a particular advisor is speaking to somebody that maybe they haven't spoken before, but this tenant has a history with the organization, you can see that history there. You might have noticed a couple of other pieces that I quickly just minimized. We've got a Microsoft Dynamics integration on the platform. I know that's a very prominent CRM with lots of different housing associations. So Microsoft Dynamics can be linked into Storm, and it can be used to automatically pop records based on, let's say, a phone number that's held within the system. So here it recognizes that myself, Cameron, is the caller. We've pre-populated all this information before having to sort of take that. So that element of identification and verification is already completed. And then we can add notes, comments, and cases all from within the single pane of glass there. Another piece of information that we've automatically popped is one we touched on before, the knowledge management system. So this can be used based on the interaction type and the route that the customer or tenant rather has gone down to pop articles or decision trees to help with that inquiry. So in this case, we've recognized that we're talking about damp and mold. We've got some nice Content Guru logos there, and we've got an overview and some steps to deal with specific issues relating to damp and mold. We can also attach PDFs or links to these records that can provide further information. And then there's an element of reportability on this as well. So if particular articles are very useful, then your advisors can tell you that, or if maybe they're out of date, they can also notify you of those issues as well. Just going on to the left-hand side, there is a pop-out where we can see quite easily as an agent some of the different features that we have. So I've been jumping back and forth between that a little bit. And if we look, let's say, at this one here called Padlock, this is how we can take PCI compliant payments over the phone. So I'm not going to walk you through the process here, but essentially we DTMF mask the tones that are keyed in on the keypad by the tenants, and this way we maintain a PCI compliance, and we pass on that certification to yourselves to maintain that PCI compliant payment service there. I think, as David mentioned, it might be a good idea if there's a particular interest in some of these bits. We're more than happy to run sessions and show you the sort of nuts and bolts behind how those all work.
One point just to mention, and as most of you in Scotland, I think almost everybody is in Scotland, as I am, when we use that natural language piece and I demonstrate it to clients, I normally get the feedback and talk about, do you remember that lift video from about 3 or 4 years ago when the Scottish people in a lift and they say, right, 4:10 and it gives them the weather, you know, that sort of thing. So the normal feedback is, does it work with our accents? Cam and I were in Belfast 2 or 3 weeks ago and tried it over there, which is obviously an even deeper accent than ours, and accuracy is brilliant. So, but we will put that to the test. Obviously Cam has an English accent, unless you hadn't noticed, whereas at the very end of this, remember I mentioned AI, the GPT, we're going to give you a live example of Cam and myself talking, so you'll be able to see the accuracy of that. I think one quick point to mention, and it's just another question that we get asked, said, you know, we use a Press 1, Press 2 at the moment, or we've got organisations that we work with that don't have anything like that. And there's a concern that, you know, to deploy that natural language thing, it's like a big jump to do that. The way our platform's designed, you don't have to do a big jump. We allow, not allow, it's very grand, but there's an option here, a feature where you can run a percentage of your calls or offer that as a percentage of the calls to your tenants. So say you wanted to just test it. You could say like 5% of calls today. Let's try that stuff. Let's see how it happens. And we provide reporting on that. So you can see how accurate it is. You can see if actually the tenant went all the way through with the transaction. If it was a call about something, did they hang up because it wasn't working? Or did they continue and complete the actual call, whatever it may have been about? So as I say, it's just a normal thing that I get regularly being based up here, that, you know, that sort of stuff doesn't work. Quick other thing just on the PCI, you know, where that fits in is you yourselves will no doubt have a PSP, a payment services provider. It's normally like your bank basically, or your merchant that you use. This is the front page. So this is where the level 1 compliance comes into, because this basically makes your organization, from a PCI perspective, we give you that level 1 compliant piece, and then your PSP plugs into the back of that. So we attach your PSP to the back of the platform, so you don't have to change who you use at the moment. As I say, it's just another question we do get asked on a regular basis. So
exactly. Cheers, David. No, appreciate it. So yes, in terms of escalation on a call, there's a number of ways you can do that. So you can take a payment, but we also can escalate into a video call as well. So a secure one-way or two-way video. I'll show you that quickly just in a second. But another piece I wanted to highlight, if it's of any concern, is there's an element of customizability to the interface that the user is using. So what I mean by that is you've seen me throughout just sort of resize, minimize, make things larger, but we can also move particular panels around. And I guess the idea here is just providing your advisors with a little bit of customizability and allowing them to work in a way that they see fit. And sort of coupled to that, the solution is also what we call WCAG compliant. So this is anybody with any accessibility concerns. We can zoom in on the platform to different levels, and we maintain that picture all the way throughout. But I'll pop you back to 100% now. I'll just minimize a couple of these screens, cancel that payment there. And how we start and initiate a video call is through what we call Storm Link. So Stormlink for us was developed really closely alongside the NHS. We work with particularly heart urgent care, and this is during the start of COVID, right when it was in its very peak. And this was to allow doctors to have video consultations with their patients during the difficult sort of social distancing rules that were in place here. So essentially we have a source of that information, this being the NHS for this use case. We have a destination, which is the phone number. Typically that's whoever you're going to be on the phone to, that particular tenant. And then we send out this secure link and allow this video call. What we see with housing associations in the UK who are using this already is that with their subcontractors, subcontractor costs have obviously gone up a great deal over the last year, but the majority of the time it takes over 2 visits for an engineer to go out and fix a repair, for example. So where the housing associations we work with are utilising this is initial first triage of a particular repair. This allows the subcontractors to bring the right tools, understand the extent of the repair, and they can go out there and then complete this repair first time. And that's, of course, a great cost saving. So if I just ping this number out to myself, I'll receive what is a very official looking text from the NHS. I allow access via my camera. And then you can see me on screen again twice, unfortunately. So here the agent is able to, or rather the customer tenant is able to spin their camera around. They can look at particular repair issue. As a advisor, I can then maybe take a screenshot of this, or in fact, we can actually screen record this whole agent interface here. And then you have that on record in terms of auditing. You can pass that to the repairs team and they can understand the extent of the particular repair that's needed there. I'll just end that video. There's one last thing.
On that, sorry, sure. Just on that point, Cameron, David, Jonathan had asked about just what's, and I think that's really cool, the video option there as well, just what some of the feedback had been from some of your clients and also the users, so the tenants themselves, like having these options available.
So the feedback has been really positive across both housing associations and just generally. I mean, I think if I look at it from a user perspective in terms of customer service agent, you know, we're finding that staff retention rates improve greatly. And I tell you why is that the reason for that is because this is different, right? So staff who use these sorts of platforms at the moment are just used to taking phone calls. By doing this, you know, we're going to show WhatsApp in a second, for example. It's the variety of channels that they'll be able to work from. It's just adding variety to the roles. So the normal feedback we get from our customers themselves perspective is that the staff are enjoying the experience better. In terms of the actual tenants or customers of our customers, if you see what I mean, who use the platform, the feedback is really good as well. I think, and appreciate, I think it was Jonathan, you said, Gary had asked the question, appreciate it's a different sector, but the best example I can give is UK Power Networks. So UK Power Networks are the biggest provider of power network across the whole of the UK and Ireland, based in the southeast. They were, and we'll happily provide the sort of detail around this, they were, I think, 12 out of 12 in terms of UK power providers. In terms of customer service, and they have to report that to the government because of obviously and the regulator. And their customer service was basically the worst there was. They took on our platform, and the feedback they had from their users and most importantly their customers has made them number one over the last just over 2 years that they've been deploying our platform. And why? It's because it's reliable, because it works, and it's the variety of channels. We've mentioned email, and quite often I get asked the question, what's the benefit of routing email through this, right? The benefit is, and it still exists in Outlook. We're not telling you to cancel Outlook. We're not doing away with Outlook. But by routing emails through this, we can put an SLA in an email. If it's not answered within a certain time, it's escalated up. It's put back in the queue. We can manage email effectively, so that becomes a channel, as opposed to, when you just send an email into a company, you don't really know what's going to happen to it. This way, you can actually monitor that. You can track it and give an SLA in a response to an email. So I've kind of worked on a wee bit, Jonathan, there, but the feedback is normally very positive from the actual users of the platform, as well as the actual customers who are interacting with our customers. So hopefully that helps.
Thanks for that, David. And just while we're at it, Rebecca has also asked, so specifically around housing associations, they all have a housing management system, kind of like a CRM, but they're saying, would this be the thing? So, for instance, Cammy, you've got Dynamics on screen. Mm-hmm. Would the housing management system be able to integrate in and effectively show on this panel?
Absolutely. So this is an open platform. So what we find is there's APIs will be on your existing housing management system. Well, it's REST APIs predominantly, and via that's how we connect your existing housing application into the platform, so it would be embedded within the platform. We have some customers who like it separate, and if they're running 2 screens, they may have the housing application pops, but we still connect it it's on a separate screen, but we still connect the 2 together, so that if the phone number's recognised when the tenant calls in, it pops. Alternatively, we have other customers who, whether it's in the housing associations or any other sector, who like to embed it into the actual desktop itself. So long way of answering, but yes.
Do you know who Wheatley?
Do you know what? I knew you were going to ask me that, or I knew it. I'll have a bit. I think they've actually developed their own in-house application. It's not right. From memory. It's not one, but we're doing the same with them. I just can't remember off the top of my head, but they've got actually a number of applications that we're integrating with.
No worries. Thanks. I'll let you crack on, Cammy.
No problem at all. No worries. Well, brilliant. I think in terms of a call and all the functionality that we have at our fingertips as a agent or an advisor to answer that call, capture information and save time, I think we've covered those bases. The last thing I wanted to show you, just as I hang up this call from the agent perspective, is we can push to a customer satisfaction or NPS type survey. So this can be done across all different channels that we look at on the platform, but over voice, we can do this via inputting keys and also via capturing our voice information again. So if I just end this call here, you'll be able to hear a quick snapshot.
Thank you for calling Content Guru. To help us improve our service, please rate your experience with us from 1 to 5 using your keypad.
So I won't go through the whole process there, but obviously with tenant satisfaction measures and things like that, this is a really good way to capture information just in general about how your tenants are feeling about certain types of interactions and just the general service. And as I mentioned, that can be done across all different channels as well. In the background, we were having a little conversation about email. So I just popped email interaction back in. We deal with all of our interactions in exactly the same way. So we'll touch on the flow tool later, which is where we mentioned we can drag and drop and we can build customer journeys. This is how we look at all different types of digital interaction and how we can priority route and things like that. And essentially all digital interactions have the same elements of functionality linked to them. We can compose emails just as standard, like you would with Outlook. We can paste in information and attachments, and we can access things like templates, so pre-canned messages related to the housing association, related to particular inquiries. This is how we can save a great deal of time just dealing with thousands of different interactions every day. And if I am to send that email off, I'm presented with things like wrap codes. And these, again, can be customizable at all different levels. And we can have dynamic wrap codes. So maybe this inquiry, say it wasn't resolved, we might have a selection of different options off the back of that. So we can be very customizable with that. Just going to put myself back into available. I know we touched on WhatsApp. So oh, there we go. It's just come on in the background there. So WhatsApp works, again, in the exact same way. We've got access to message templates there at the bottom. We can even tag notes to particular customers or particular areas within that interaction. And if I'm to respond, that message is just going to be continually sent to my mobile device next to me there. But this is essentially how we manage all elements of digital interaction. We've got a number of different new channels on the system. We use X, or what was Twitter. We have Google Business Messenger, I believe, is our newest one. And then we look at things like Facebook and Instagram as well. So we're really connecting across all different types of those touch points for your tenants. If I just close that one down now, we should be presented with some more wrap codes. I chose this one as it's a little bit more complex this time. So we can look at things like a payment, for example, and then off the back of a wrap code, maybe that's been a call that needs to be addressed again. So we can actually do things like schedule callbacks on a specific number based on the outcome of the call, all just within a wrap code there. So lots of things.
Sorry, Cam, to jump in, but that's just a very quick question, a quick point that other housing associations use the feature of. So you'll be familiar with phoning an organisation that says press 1 and we'll call you back as soon as you get to the front of the queue, all that sort of good stuff. So we have a feature though where you can do that. You can set a time though, so you could let your tenants choose a time to give them a call back, and obviously also a different number. The use case we see for that a lot of time is people phoning on their way to work, phoning before they start a shift, or well, actually I can't get through. Okay, they leave a message, phone me back, and they choose a slot after 4:30, for example. Please call me back on this number. So it's just a wee feature, but it's a feature that we've seen in other housing associations is a real benefit to the actual tenants as well. So, Cam?
Yeah, absolutely. So unless there's any questions on the DTA or the agent interface, I'm going to move on now to Flow, which we've made reference to a couple of times. Now, Flow might look a little bit daunting at the start, but I'll sort of take you through it and try and keep things very high level. But traditionally, I mean, on-premise phone systems and things like that, if we need to make a change to an IVR or that customer journey, then we've got to go through a long-winded process in which it might involve phoning up the organization or vendor, asking them to complete this change, and then them sort of coming back to you in a 7-day window or something like that. But within Flow, we allow you full control and flexibility around your own call flows, opening hours, and just the ways that your tenants can get in touch with you. And the way we build it up is sort of like a drag and drop from left to right. So we've got these things called action cells, and these are found on the left-hand side. That we've got hundreds of them that all complete different and complex functions, but this is probably the best use case in a very basic format. So every flow starts with a start cell, and this could be, for example, the number that you're calling in on for your particular housing association. We then look up that number in a CRM system. So in this one, it's Salesforce, but we can envision that to be a housing management system, another CRM system that you use, or maybe CCaaS, which is our own system. And we're looking for an input. So this is where we get a bit techie, but essentially we're looking for an input. That's the phone number or the CLI. And if we find that number, we're going to find all of these things about the customer or the tenant. So we're going to see their first name, last name, and different details, for example. Now, if we do find that information, we complete and we go down this way. And now we're doing something called a membership check. So based on some information that you hold within the housing management system, within the CRM, it might identify them as a higher priority. So let's say in this case, we've got a gold priority. So if they meet that criteria, then they get played a nice media message, and then they get routed to a specific queue of skilled advisors. If they're not so high priority or say vulnerability, then we might send them down one route where we send an outbound email and then route them to another subset of agents, for example. But if we sort of retrace our steps, go all the way back to Salesforce, let's say no number was recognized, well, that request then fails. So we go this way. We go through a menu, and that is press 1 if you meet this criteria, press 2 if you meet this, and then another. And we send maybe an outbound SMS and then route to a queue, or we send a nice media prompt and then route to a queue. So if there's any questions on that, please do let me know. But this essentially just is the end-to-end journey from the customer calling in to being routed to an agent.
Sorry, Gary, go on.
Sorry, not a question specifically, but I think just on that part, the whole idea that, you know, if a housing association has a number of like vulnerable tenants, for them to be able to almost get like gold standard prioritized, not even like a set of options, but just straight through to someone. I think it's just real advantage. And on the no code side, David, so I know some of our members are of different sizes. Some of them don't necessarily have like an internal IT or, you know, technical person within there that could potentially be doing a lot of the infrastructure side of things. This format allows kind of anyone to really kind of upskill and set up a kind of application like this.
Definitely, and I think two quick points in that then is there's full training provided. It's become quite common within sort of software providers to kind of send people the link and YouTube videos and online manuals and all that sort of stuff. We've been going about 25 years, so we take an old school approach to that. Well, it's a right approach in my opinion, but it is the older school approach, which is there's full training provided, courses, there's ongoing support as well. So it's not as if you just get a link and get on with it. And we expect our customers to do it. It's not at all. It's full training. And secondly, and it should be a point I should have made at the start, we're throwing a lot at yourselves today. I truly appreciate that. This platform is completely modular. So, you know, I mentioned 24. All NHS 24 has got from us is web chat services, nothing else. You know, Wheatley have started, like most of our customers, we put in voice, we manage voice for them. We add a bit more functionality, and then over the next sort of, I don't know, period of time, we roll out maybe another WhatsApp or so. And so this is not, you know, if this is of interest, you have to have everything. It's not at all like that. It's all modular. So I'll make that point. Cam, I'm conscious of time, so unless there's any questions on Flow itself, hopefully people get the gist. It's giving you yourselves control of the platform. Shall we have a quick look at the reporting?
Yeah, let's do it. I think just quickly before I move away, we touched on that flexibility piece. So if in terms of loading up a different flow script, let's say we've got one of our 999 services, we have a full sort of audit log of all of the changes that have been made to that script. Firstly, we don't allow scripts to be committed if there's errors. So you're never going to be putting out something that goes to a dead end with a voice call. But then also in different versions, you can delve in and see if any changes have been made and who those changes have been by. We've chosen a bad example here because we can't seem to see any changes, but that's all time stamped and it's all fully auditable. So just touching on MI and statistics now, moving over to StormView. Again, this is probably a lot of information to take in, but essentially we have our reporting suite view split into two different sections. So one of which is real time. So that's any information that's happening right now to, I believe, just a couple of milliseconds. And then we've got historical, which we'll touch on another tab. But just to give you a quick view, we can see live details on contact center teams, things like service level, number of failed calls, number of answered calls, all at a snapshot, as well as the availability states of your different advisors within your teams. We can display data in a couple of different ways. So we've got things like pie charts where we can look at different interaction types. We can look at call volumes and things like bar graphs. And if I want to add an additional module, so I just switched on to a different one there as I didn't have the right rights, I can simply click add new module, and then I can pull some information down from the screen, press this button, give it a title, give it a new color, and select the particular group I'm looking at, and then select save. And when, as quick as your internet is, essentially you can produce these real-time dashboards and reports on different users and teams within the contact center at the housing association. Something that's useful alongside real-time reporting is things called alerts. So maybe there's a particular queue or volume within a particular line that is reached sort of critical levels, and you want to send out an alert to the users within the contact center to say, look, we're really busy, we need to move off maybe emails and all focus on phones. So we can do that through the system. We would add an event or a metric related to how many incoming calls that are waiting in the queue. And then off the back of that, we can raise an action if that's met. So let's say there's more than 5 calls in the queue. We're going to send an email, or we're going to send an SMS to particular users, or maybe we're just going to raise a notification within the Storm platform. So that's a very powerful tool that a lot of organizations that we work with utilize. Just moving on to the historical element of reporting now, just give that some time to load. This is now data that is looking at anything that happened 5 minutes in the past and held for a sort of 13-month period. And we can look at sort of snapshots of information by just clicking on a week number there. So we're looking at week 41 here. It's just taking a little bit of time to load. But there's 41 standard reports within this historical dashboard, and these cover a huge range of contact center KPIs that we've worked on with a number of different organizations that we work with. It looks like it's taking a while to load, but I'll talk through some of the ones that we can see on the screen. So we've got call distribution by time of day. That is a useful one to understand when the contact center is receiving the most traffic, and then we can work on how we resource the contact center throughout the day. We can look at agent groups, how they've been doing in terms of answering calls and failed calls. And then we can see things like agent completion codes. Not a very good one there, saying NA, that's our demo platform, just not being up to scratch. But if I want to add a report, it's the same as before. I can drag down one of these 41 standard reports that cover all of those important KPIs, or I can even build my own report using different types of metrics. So we provide those tools that you can have any piece of information from the platform that you require. Where there's a lot more power in this is once you've built a report or a standard report, you can actually schedule those reports to come out. So if I were to add a schedule here, I can choose the date and the time I want that to run from. So let's say I want to run it today, and I want to run it every single day or every 5 minutes for eternity. I then move on to the report, select which reports I want and in which format I want those reports. So let's say I want that one in the table, this one in the pie chart, click save, and then I can export those to various different places. So maybe it's a subset of emails, maybe that's my supervisors or the senior management team, for example, or do I want to just push it to a server SFTP or FTP? And then once I do that, or it's not going to let me because I haven't put a name in, but once I do that, that's automatically going to ping out those reports as frequently or as infrequently as you desire, and it's not you're going to be very low touch within this platform, essentially. I think that's everything at a very high level with reporting, unless you wanted to add anything, David, or there was any questions that were put in the chat.
Nothing from me. I don't know, Gary, if there's any questions.
Just a few, but I think we'll just wait to the end. It's just
okay.
A few around kind of integrations and pricing.
Right. So I think we're just going to move on to the last demonstration then. Mm-hmm. So this is the one I referred to earlier on, where we're going to live test how accurate all this natural language AI piece is with a Scottish voice, i.e. mine. So what this is about, and this is actually a proper use case that we've developed. We've got 4 customers who are trialing this for us at the moment. So the original ask was that we provide the contact centre for the Department of Work and Pensions, and they were getting a lot of callers saying, you're telling me to go and apply for a job, I don't have a CV. So what was happening was that the agents were having to go through the call and say, right, what's your name, all that sort of good stuff. And it wasn't very personal. because it was very robotic, basically, because the agent was having to fill in spaces, and they're trying to make their CV, the caller CV, look exciting, look different. So we developed this for Department of Work and Pensions, and what it is this, that Cam and I will have a call. It will do what's called live transcription. So you will see our call, what we're actually talking, what we're actually saying, appear live on the screen, and that's what's called the AI. The AI engine's listening in the background and it's popping it live onto the screen. That's the accuracy piece I was talking about. So hopefully you'll see how accurate this is. We then plug in to this whole piece ChatGPT, and what we do with that is we then use that to personalize it. So you'll see what we mean. You'll see what I mean when this happens. We're going to use a complaint as an example of this working. This again is the thing I was saying earlier on, is very cool. This is where we think, you know what, this could be the future for a lot of organizations in terms of managing calls, reducing workload on staff. The perfect example of this is where we have customers similar to yourselves, no doubt, where at the end of a call, you want to type up notes. You want to say, right, okay, I was speaking to David Hogg. He was going on about this. He was going on about that. This would automate the whole of that, because what this could potentially do, and we're doing it for a couple of customers, it listens into the call, it notes everything down automatically as the call's going on. The agent then reads it through, says, yeah, that's accurate, and then it drops it straight into the client's record within your housing or CRM application. So very cool, bit different. Again, not the sort of thing that we're having clients, I would imagine a brand new client would come on and say, right, I want to do this straight from day one, how quickly can I get it? Because it is a big change. However, it's the sort of thing that hopefully demonstrates that if this, any of what we've gone on about today is of interest, it shows where we could hopefully work with yourselves, because this is truly transforming how a tenant communicates. So hopefully this is nothing like a live demo. So sorry.
Yeah, I think I was just going to say this one definitely works better in person. So I'm going to be your contact center advisor today. I'm going to be answering the phone on my mobile, and David's going to be phoning in about a complaint. So we will see how this one goes.
Hello. Thank you for calling Content Guru. In a few short words, please tell me how I can help you today.
I'd like to raise a complaint.
Thank you for your inquiry. Please allow me to route you to one of our skilled agents.
Hi there, David. You're speaking with Cameron at Content Guru. How can I help you today?
Hi, Cam. Yes, I'd like to raise a complaint, please.
Sure, of course, no problem at all. Before I take down the details of the complaint, are you all right to just give me some key pieces of information? Could I please have your full name and your address, please?
Yeah, my name is David Hogg. My address is 154 New Haven Road, Glasgow.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much, David. I'll just load up our system in the background. Just in terms of the complaint, could you please just give me all of the details from the start? When did the problem arise?
Well, it was on Saturday night. I was watching the England against South Africa rugby game, and I am a rugby fan, and I was disappointed that South Africa didn't beat England by more points.
Right, okay, I see what the issue is there. Well, being an England fan myself, I was pretty upset with the decision, but maybe for some different reasons. Was there anything else that you wanted to add, or?
No, I think if it had been beaten by a greater score, I would have been happier. But the fact they ultimately got beat, I was actually ultimately happy. So.
Right, okay, I understand. Well, in my case, I wasn't best pleased, but from a Content Guru side, is there anything that we can do about this issue that you're experiencing?
No, that's everything for this. Thank you.
Okay, no problem at all. Thank you for your time, David.
Okay, bye-bye. So, what you'll hopefully see, and appreciate it's a wee bit small, but if you kind of have a quick look at this, down the left-hand side, it's live transcribed what we were just saying. Okay, so take out a few things. Yeah, my name is David Hogg. My address is 154 New Haven Road, Glasgow. Saturday I was watching the England against South Africa rugby game. I'm a rugby fan. I was disappointed. So, okay, yes, it was a bit of banter and it was a bit of a laugh, but you know what? Hopefully you can see what's happened on the left-hand side and how accurate it is. On the right-hand side, what's happened now is we've plugged the ChatGPT piece into this, and we've personalised it. We've made it friendlier, basically. So if you look at the customer's complaint, unhappiness about England nearly beating South Africa in the Rugby World Cup semi-final on Saturday. Customer wanted England to lose by a greater score and was ultimately happy with their defeat. That's not really the way I put it, but that's the way that's been transcribed, and that's the way that ChatGPT's basically familiarised it and made it more of a friendly type of familiar type of interaction. So, okay, bit of a fun, bit of a laugh, but what's the whole purpose of this? It goes back to what I said at the start. This is showing that, you know, an accent such as mine, such as majority of yourselves, is accurately picking it up. But then the right-hand side, yes, we've completed a complaint summary, but what could happen to that? We could then take that. We could then email that straight to the customer to say, listen, this is what we've taken as your complaint. Is that right? This could be where it completely wraps up what the person said and then drops it into their record within CRM. We're saving the agent having to write. We're allowing the agent to basically interact closer and better with the tenant because they've been able to actually listen to the tenant fully as opposed to taking notes and having to think, right, what do I need to say next? What do I need to fill in? They can just be natural with them. So, okay, bit of fun about it, but hopefully you see the point of this. Hopefully you see where this it could be a real game changer in terms of improving the communications between yourselves and tenants. So, we've just gone over our apologies, Gary, but that is in terms of the demonstration, the presentation, that is us complete. But hopefully that was of interest.
Yeah,
thank you very much.
That's great, guys. Thanks. And I think just on that AI piece at the end there, it's really interesting to actually see an active example of AI and how it could help housing associations. So I think that's the real point, and it's something that a lot of the members are kind of asking me specifically as to, you know, AI's coming, what does it actually mean for us? And this is a really good application of that, I think, and it puts it to good use as well, and especially the fact that it can pick up your accent, David. But on that, so I know we're kind of tight for time. There was just a few questions I'll jump back to. There was one again from Rebecca around, so for example, the email and WhatsApp, when they are logged in Storm, the application, would that be recorded, for instance, back to the housing management system? Have you seen that being possible where it'll log that in?
Yeah, I have done. Yeah, so we would do a bit of engineering to basically link it to say it was Cam was the caller in this situation. It would appear in Cam's file. You know, this is the WhatsApp conversation, and this is. I think we showed it. See, remember we showed it in what we call CCaaS, which is our CRM. We had the customer journey type piece. We could do similar, or we have done similar with other applications. So yes.
Cool. No, that's great. And just on that, so the WhatsApp piece, I'd asked the question of some of the people on the call if they use WhatsApp, and quite a few had said they don't actually at the moment, but they would like to, because, I mean, personally for me, if I was able to sort out, you know, my car insurance or cancel a renewal through WhatsApp with a company, I would far prefer to do that. Is that something that's, you know, when this system comes in, that organisations that you're working with have seen, actually, we're going to start using WhatsApp as a method of communication?
Very much so. It's actually the first channel that we are going to launch. Tesco Bank have just launched it from us. The police are going to use it as well. The one area that some organisations are concerned about is the security of WhatsApp. So, you know, because this is a business account that you would have for WhatsApp, we always put the message on the screen, you know, please, you know, this is WhatsApp that you're using, you know, in terms of security and so on. You know, there's always a caveat. It's a bit like the video case study as well. You know, we always put a wee caveat on that before the user actually gets the text. You know, please be aware, you know, you will be showing what is in your living room or whatever it may be. You know, if you, don't know. I think my wife would be a wee bit annoyed if the agent saw the dirty washing in the corner of the room or something, you know, that sort of thing. But so we're seeing the biggest uptake we are seeing is in omni-channel. We're seeing WhatsApp. When I say omni, I'm comparing that to Facebook Messenger, Instagram, and WhatsApp. Out of those three, WhatsApp's taken off. Twitter, now X, is definitely fallen behind because of the changes since Musk took it over.
Yeah.
But WhatsApp is definitely the most popular request that we're seeing at the moment.
No, that's great. And so there's two other quick questions around specifics, and then I'll finish in the pricing one. But so Donna's asked about so in the past they've been recording calls for the quality and training purposes. Would this system be an instance as to replace that? So your transcripts of the call logs, the outcomes as well, I guess.
Yeah, Cam, can you just very quickly pop that? You got access to just pop up record on it. So yeah, there's a full call recording platform as part of Storm, which also is where, forget about that thing we demonstrated at the very end. If you just wanted to transcribe calls, after they've happened, it's fully part of that. It automatically scores calls as well. So if you have statements that you expect your users to mention to callers on a regular basis, you can pre-build that, and then you can automatically score calls. So if you want your staff to always say at the end of a call, "Thank you for phoning X Housing Association. Please be aware X, Y, and Z," you can actually pre-populate that, and then if the staff don't do that, then the score will be reflected. So what you'll see down on this is our recorder platform. There's quite a lot through it. What we do down the left-hand side, though, as well, is we create smart folders. So this is what's down the left-hand side. And you can pop certain types of calls and so on if you want to group all the calls that a certain user's made into a certain smart folder. So as opposed to having to go through them and say, right, okay, where's all the calls that David Hogg dealt with, the calls that Cam Littlefield, these will be automatically populated in that. The benefit or the feedback we're getting from our customers on that is because of obviously remote working and home working, they're not always there. They can't always listen into obviously what staff are actually saying to tenants. So by doing this, it's all part of the platform and it's easily accessible. So,
cool.
So anyway,
I think
quick look
just a key thing to mention on that as well. This is a very poorly set up recorder that I've got here, but you've got lots of different information that you can report on called properties, and we can allow the transcript view within recorder. So if I were to click on this recording, I could obviously play that back as standard, but then I could view the transcript. And then we've got something called confidence as well. So confidence is a score out of 100 in the platform and the AI partners' confidence that what has been transcribed is correct. So obviously the higher that is, the more confidence that you will have as an organisation that you've captured that info.
Great stuff. And so just the last one before I mention the pricing. Jonathan's asked a really good question actually. So this might apply to some of our rural members, but also again in an urban setting if it's around different languages. So if someone calls in on a different language, would GTP be potentially usable as a way to translate that?
Yeah, because off the back end of this is Google AI. We plug into Google AI and IBM Watson, and they all have Google AI has something like 180 languages. Scottish Gaelic, I need to check actually, but which I will do. But yeah, so there's a range of languages, a huge range of languages on this as well. So yeah,
great stuff. And
the other just final quick one on that is we're actually working on a live translation service as well at the moment, which should hopefully be available within the next couple of months. So as a call is happening, it's live translated as well in between. It's very clever. So, but yeah, so there's a lot of languages.
Brilliant. And yes, so final thing, just before we wrap up, Siobhan just asked about the pricing structure and licensing setup for the application.
So it's a wee bit different than I'm going to assume that if you've not already, you maybe have looked at or probably will look at in the future, people like your Ring Centrals and the rest of the world who are in a different marketplace from ours. But the reason I mention organisations such as that is that what you normally find with solutions such as ours is that the licensing model is all very, if you want X, Y, and Z feature, everybody's got to go at the same thing. So we don't operate like that. So we operate in a very different way. So a quick example is when we sit down with a client and say, right, we want couple of users to use WhatsApp. We want maybe 2 users to use email. We want like 10 users using voice. We need an administrator, we need a supervisor. We provide those licenses. We don't have this situation, which is becoming really common these days, where it's like, well, everybody needs to have the same license. We don't do that. Also, our licenses are based on concurrency. So there's a small named cost, which is in the relevance is minimal. But the most common thing you look for in these sort of solutions is concurrency. And that's all about who's actually using it. How many users do we have using the platform at one time? And that's what our pricing is based on. So if anybody's not getting that, what I mean by that is that say you maybe had 50 people overall that would take calls and deal with this sort of thing, or 30 people who overall could deal with it, but you never have 30 people dealing with voice calls or dealing with WhatsApps at one time. You may have 3. You get charged for 3. You don't get charged for the 30. So that's the way we do it. Final quick thing as well. I think there's 1 or 2 guys on from our partner Vodafone on this as well. And I know in the mobile world it used to be like this, when you would start off with 50 mobiles, then say you had a 2-year contract. After 12 months you order another 10. The contract date was always never aligned. That's not how we work. So we co-term everything together. So say you just started with voice, then after 6 months went, do you know what, we want to try a few WhatsApp licenses. 6 months later, let's add email in. Whatever that contract end date that we agreed at the very start is, everything finishes in. So you don't find you're in this disjointed multiple end dates. So yeah, the licensing is all individual and broken up in terms of what you actually are looking for. So it just means you're only paying for what you're actually going to use. You're not wasting money.
Yeah, and what we'll do in the post-event email is also send out the details of David as well. So if anyone has some questions or wants to try and find out some pricing, get it maybe a bit more dialed down and clear, just get in touch. But on that part, I'd just like to thank both David and Cameron for coming along from Content Guru, and to everyone in the call that's came along. I think we just tried to touch on a few of those points, those kind of digital touch points about how you can start to transform those communications with your tenants, trying to create a much more streamlined but agile solution that allows your tenants to do more. And you know, it's things like WhatsApp that's becoming more prevalent in everyday use that you can begin to actually get the benefit out of too. So thanks again, everyone. And there's a very quick question on screen just about the kind of satisfaction, how you found today's webinar. So I'll leave that open for a few minutes, and enjoy your lunch.
Thank you, everybody, for having us. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks everybody for